Chaos's most vile demon has landed. But in addition to Remington Steele, Bellacor has also swooped in. Let's take a look.
It's the Andy and Remington Steele show on your screens tonight. It's the Andy and Remington Steele show for your home delight. We're talking about Age of Sigmar and anything else that is cool. Talking about Warhammer Fantasy, it's easy to learn the rules. Andy and Remington, Andy and Remington, Andy and Remington show.
Welcome one and all. It's time once again for the Andy and Rem show. This time, episode 151. Bellacor is here. And as you're observing the thumbnail there, you will notice that not only is it adorned with the faces of the usual hosts of this show, but also kind of the unofficial third host, semi-regular guest, industry insider, miniatures expert. As we remove the thumbnail, there we all are. It's Annie again. With some wonderful cushions behind you there. Couldn't help noticing some fine merchandise.
It's the City, the football team that I like, and the Andy 2D6 merch there, looking very snazzy, fits in with the theme. Some say that I am a fan of Manchester City because the blue suits my living room, but they're wrong.
And of course, the Andy 2D6 cushion is of course available on Redbubble, along with other fine merchandise such as the wall clock, bedspread, the coaster, all the good stuff. There's some with kind of the word Rem on there as well, but you don't have to go for that stuff. It's just out of pity, maybe you'd pick up one of those items. So hello, Mr. Rem. The blinds are down today. No neighbours peeking in this time.
Hello, Andrew. How are you? I couldn't help noticing. Are you wearing new glasses there?
Me?
Yeah.
No.
They're very fetching. They look very
well, thank you. They are the same ones, though.
Something's different. I don't know.
Maybe your glasses are different, so they just look different.
No,
you definitely have different glasses.
I have my tinted glasses on, but they are prescription lenses. So
your Rockstar lenses.
Yes. Yeah, there's just something, I don't know, something fresh about you. Maybe it's springtime coming. Maybe it's like you've almost got the right shade of blue behind you. It's just a bit too light. It feels a bit darker. And those two words on the cushions were changed to Leicester City. Then we'd definitely know it was summertime.
If you sent me a cushion with Leicester City on it, I would become a Leicester City fan. That is the fickleness of my football supporting.
Now that you've said that, you do realise that people are going to just be bombarding Bad Squiddo with cushions adorned with various football teams to see which one you'll have in the background that week.
Go Sport!
I love it. Hey, welcome everybody to the show. Welcome. We've got Dead Gamer, the legend from across the pond. Hello, Dead Gamer. And we've got David Corley. And we've got someone who says, I'm so glad I discovered this show recently. And if I can recall my Russian, I think I pronounce your name. Tanya Vargen. I'm really sorry, I just murdered your name.
But you attempted it, and that's the important thing. I don't think I would even attempt any kind of Russian.
Welcome to the show. You're going to love this one. It's so nice to see Mads Anderson. Hello, Marissa. Hello, and Lil Norman.
Norman's on. Number one fangirl, Rem.
That's right. Lil Norman had a song dedicated to her the last time she came on the show.
It's safe to say that when lockdown is over and the world is safe, the virus is gone, she's going to be there in the front row at the next Remington concert.
That's right. And what we usually do whenever I sing a song, and obviously get more fans, that's one way we get more fans onto the show, is that Andy likes to return the compliment. So today it's probably going to be his turn to sing a song. And if you've not heard Andy sing, well, let me just tell you, it is something to remember.
Beautiful.
That is true. It is something that people don't easily forget. So, speaking of things that aren't easily forgotten, giant winged demons. I think we can start off with this. We do have plenty of other juicy topics to sink our chaotic fangs into later on, but for now, we're sinking them directly into the flesh of chaos. What do you think of this? Bellacor. New Bellacor.
The best thing is that I can see it properly now. From all the previous shows I've been on, I had it on minimum res, so I was kind of going, yeah, it seems alright. But I really see it.
While we're here, go to your settings, YouTube settings, and get it on top quality. That's going to help you when it comes to some of the other parts of the show, especially one called What the Hell Is That? So, first question, how come this demon isn't red? Aren't most chaos demons, like especially like the corn-based ones, like red? This one looks like it's been burnt and it's like grey ash.
Standing on something? What's that?
He's standing on some kind of rocky croissant, maybe?
Oh, yeah. Croissant? Stairs, isn't it? Yeah.
Are you sure? Isn't it the tree trunk of the Tree of Ages? Because he was kind of responsible, right? He started the death of the old world, didn't he? It was Bellacor's naughty, mischievous plottings, I'm sure. Wouldn't that be cool, though, if that was the trunk from the Tree of Life?
That would be cool.
Be very cool. So,
I like his wing piercings.
Yes, he's got a lot of accessorizing and danglage going on, and we'll see the 40k version in a minute as well that's got alternative danglage. So, there is a video as well which I've pre-muted. So let's have a look at this. See what GW want to show us here. Some lovely angles. Look at the danglage.
Oh, you see how the pink popped out there and the blues, they pop out?
The 360, a patented maneuver from this show. Full chaos army there.
Wow, those wings are huge.
Yeah, that's a beast.
He's certainly a monstrosity. And if we go down here, Age of Sigmar Broken Realms, Bellacor.
Right.
And here is the 40k version. So, in this one, what's notable is there's now a Space Marine on the base.
Right.
There are some different heads as well. So I think you've got a skull somewhere. It's got like a futuristic eyepiece in that one. You've got a helmet there as well. So just subtle differences. Because obviously demonic units are often available to use in both fantasy systems and 40k. So it's nice to see little bits of decoration that vary between the two.
So what do we know about Bellacor? The caption usually is the first among all demons.
Well, isn't that what we know about him then?
Well, is there anything else you'd like to say, Andy? Flipping heck, he's massive, isn't he?
He certainly is massive. Look at the size of him next to that. And because he's surrounded by demons of all the different chaos gods, I think you were a bit premature in calling him, referring to him as a corn demon earlier. Pretty sure he's a little bit on the ever-chosen side.
I see.
If I'm wrong, I'm sure someone will be in the chat in literally seconds telling me otherwise.
You both remember, of course you both remember Old Hammer, and there was rules such as fear and terror, wasn't there? And you obviously, if you suffer from fear or terror, or you're a monster of some kind that causes fear or terror, your opponent gets certain penalties. But that's all been done away with, hasn't it, in the new rules? But if you were a little night goblin with a tiny little spear and a black coat and a little shield, which would surely be crushed with a short swipe of his tail, wouldn't you be terribly frightened? But in the new rules, you wouldn't be, would you? I guess.
I think I'd be terribly frightened of virtually every model that they release for this game system. If I was a tiny night goblin, everything seems to be getting bigger and bigger and more horrifying as we go.
Yeah, I guess you just got to have safety in numbers. But I mean, how are you going to hurt this guy? Plus the fact you can't really kill a demon, can you? They just get sent back off to their other realmly world, which is strange, really, isn't it? You can't ever kill a demon.
Now, while we continue to digest Bellacor, here's one for the audience. So, putting it to you. Bellacor is, of course, covered in all kinds of decoration and danglage. What would you dangle from your Bellacor? Get it in the chat right now, and then we'll go through them and pick the best.
Guinea pigs. That's my answer.
Guinea pigs? Would you have, like, live guinea pigs crawling on him, or just, like, guinea pig skeletons dangling from the hooks?
Guinea pig skulls, I think, yeah. He might have a live shoulder one.
Giant guinea pig skulls.
Now, I don't know about you two. You don't seem to be the sort of guys that are into piercings. Not that I know of, anyway. Right? But what's the deal with all the piercings in his wings? Is it fashion? Is it utility? What is it?
It looks like he's just dangling his trophies there.
Yeah, that's why if he had all the great guinea pigs of the past, then they'd show them all off, I think.
The problem is, though, when he's like walking through a forest or walking anywhere, wouldn't he get them caught constantly? You know, like with this, I love this coat, this sort of winterish knitted thing I'm wearing here. But I've got to be ever so careful because I can catch it on anything sticking out. I mean, but with Bellacor there, it's going to be a complete fashion disaster. That
he is asking for trouble.
I think if it snags, though, he's so badass that he'd just sort of tear it off anyway in a bit of a rage. Or he'd have little blood bleds that come up and fix it up for him a bit. Or a big fly.
Because if you look, there are holes in his wings, so maybe that's where they were hooked on previously and caused a bit of a tear. Because if you're a little goblin, as you say, terrified of this thing, if there's enough of you, you're always looking up, what can I grab onto to make the heroic, like, climb up the monster and then jump on its head and stab it. And those chains are pretty inviting.
You could do a great diorama, can't you, of loads of like savage orcs just grabbing onto those chains and just swarming him.
Or throwing hooks onto his chains and like trying to pull him down.
Yeah,
as he's trying to fly away because he's bitten off more than he can chew.
Plus, another thing about the chains is the demon, like Bellacor, couldn't sort of silently swoop in like an eagle coming down for its prey. You'd hear him a mile off, wouldn't you, with those chains flapping about everywhere? It'd be such a strange sound as well.
I don't think stealth is really high on his priority list.
Well, I mean, you could get away. You'd have a head start.
Part of the terror, isn't it? Hearing this like clunking skulls flapping about, guinea pigs screaming.
There's something in that. Special rule like the guinea pig squeak. You can't see anything, but you can hear it, and the skies have darkened, and there he is swooping down with his guinea pigs all over him.
So Andy, what differentiates Bellacor from any other demon? I mean, has he got special rules?
I'm sure he will have about 3 pages of special rules. You know what they're like.
You used to go straight into those rules.
I don't think they've even shown us the rules for him yet.
All right. Well, can we do a price prediction then?
Oh, he's going to be a hefty one, I think.
What do you say, Andy? You're an expert at these things. Come on, what's your price prediction for this? Yes.
I'm out of the GW loop. I don't know what their pricing is anymore. Say like £100 or something.
100 English pounds. So that's approximately what?
Yeah.
$140.
I haven't looked at their prices lately, so I don't know what. I know they're surprising sometimes. What was Marathi?
Oh, she's too expensive.
She was like 60 or something, wasn't she?
At least.
And he's bigger.
He's not the size of a gargant, and they are 120, aren't they?
Say like 80 to 100.
80 to 100.
Because it's a beast of a kit, that's what I reckon.
Well, how much is the Bloodthirster? Isn't that about 90 or something? Or a Star Drake? Because it's around that kind of size rather than the Mega Gargant, isn't it?
It is. We've got some guesses in the live audience. You can obviously join in the live audience and chat down there. And remember to like the video. That always helps. What have we got here? At least £110 cites Tiny Vargiem. That's correctly pronounced this time. We've also got Sergeant Benton in with £105. Skippage reckons it's going to be 90 quid. And Stu Gibson, you can tell he's from the north, can't you? He's saying £85. He's gone in with the low bid.
I think it'll be a tiny bit more than that. We have got some danglage suggestions as well. So David suggests that Ipswich should be dangled from Bellacor. So maybe a map of Ipswich. Let's see, what else? Dead Gamer suggests parts of a cat's reproductive system should be dangled from Bellacor. Potentially, there are a lot of those floating around there. And I've got a couple of suggestions myself, actually, if you would like to observe this image. So, when you're a demon, you don't want to turn up late for battle, so an alarm clock accessory there, just to make sure you're always on time. And you have to go out looking your best. So what would be worse than being woken up by your alarm clock? You're pumped, ready for the battle, but can't find your best outfit. Now, he doesn't seem to be wearing a lot of clothes, but just in case, bit of a coat hanger there. Maybe he'd like to hang this kind of groinal covering over it, so he can't lose that. You wouldn't want to turn up to battle with the wrong kind of danglage on display, I'm sure. And a bit of a disco ball there, because it's going to be quite the party when he's in action. And just to show, he's got a sensitive side as well. Likes his plants. Bit of a hanging basket action there.
He's a bad boy, but you can tame him.
Yes.
I like that, Andy. That's very creative. And with the actual model, I'm looking at this on a largish monitor. I guess it's pretty realistic. I'm looking at the size of it. It would make, if you had that on your mantelpiece, you could dangle your jewelry from those chains, couldn't you? It could be like a jewelry thing.
It'd be a really good earring holder. Oh.
Alternative uses for Bellacor there. Or at Christmas, you know what's going to happen to him though, don't you? With all those hooks, he's just asking for trouble. I've seen a couple of Christmas photoshops out there, but I didn't make them, so we're not showing them.
Okay. So, Andy, is this up your tree? This miniature?
It's very nice, but I think there's nicer out there. I don't think it's top tier. I think there's a couple of things even recently that have come out that I prefer to this. It is very nice. I like it more than, what's the name of that very corn-looking demon prince?
I think if you scroll down, you can see him. I think I did see a picture there, and you saw him next to another demon. Or maybe it's just my imagination.
Must have been in your imagination. It might have been in the video. But what's the name of that?
In the video, yeah.
What's the name of that corn demon prince? The named one.
Scragraw.
That one. What's his name? He's got like scarred up body and holes in his wings all over the place.
Scarbrand.
Yes, that's the one.
You're close.
Yeah, Stu got it as well. So I think it's nicer than that. Probably nicer than the current Bloodthirster, perhaps. But I'm partial to some of the old Bloodthirsters, actually. Don't know if it's as nice as some of the other armies' large centerpieces that we've had. Including...
Go on, sorry.
Including You can't say go ahead and then carry on talking.
I know, I realised that after I said it. And
I don't think it's as nice as the Slanesh Glutos on the carriage. Not on that level. You were saying?
I was saying, William Matthews, who is always pretty much correct. I mean, he gets your quizzes right almost every time. Hello, William. He said the Bloodthirster is £85, and he reckons Bellacor would be £100. So a 15% increase if you want to get the named character demon.
Wouldn't surprise me at all if that was his price.
Be interested to see some alternative paint jobs on him. Like the people that are good at airbrush, like putting his wings from that sort of like red to black or black to purple or something. I think that'd look more interesting for me.
Yeah, the wings don't really
it's such
stand
a large
out,
surface.
What stands out to me when I look at it is the guard on his thigh. this bit here is very shiny.
Don't hit him there.
Very shiny and light compared to the rest of him. I bet if you were firing arrows at him, every single one would land there.
Yeah.
That's how armor works.
Drawn to the shiny.
Aesthetically, what people often forget is that when a model is on a tabletop, you hardly ever see their faces. You'll see the back of his wings and the back of his head, and there isn't any angles from that. There isn't any pictures of that angle.
We did see a 360 in the video, but when we get the real 360 on their online store, then we'll definitely delve into that and have another look.
I mean, so what I'm saying is, from a tabletop, it's like all about the wings, isn't it? All about the back of the wings.
Yes. Anything where the wings are so huge, you've got to do a good job on them, I think. But it's a difficult balance because you don't want them to completely draw the eye away from what they're attached to. So I admire very much people who can pull off that very delicate maneuver, making the wings interesting, not overpowering.
Yeah, I think
out at the back, because you can't see it. Has he got a butt flap?
He has a tail.
I think we should rewind the video and see if we can find the butt. Let's see, where's the 360? Oh, there we go. So, do we actually see the back of him at all? No, it doesn't really start at the back, does it?
You see?
They don't want you to see Bellacor's butt, you have to wait for that. That's what they're teasing you with.
See, I think you should get optional wings with this. You should either get his fully unflapped wings or his, back in the suitcase, unflapped wings. Because I'd probably select the unflapped ones because it's like less hassle to paint.
Less hassle to transport as well.
Yeah, for sure.
It'd be cool if you could get folded wings, actually, just as an extra bit.
They're just so cool.
Yeah, just folded at the back a bit.
Yeah, I mean, it's do you know, like the old metal models, they would just have the sort of the frame of the wings, wouldn't they? And you'd have to fill in the. I mean, you could put tracing paper in between for the membranes, couldn't you? I suppose. Does that work?
I guess if you were going to take him around there, you just magnetise the wings, wouldn't you?
You certainly could do that. I always think that's a great idea, but then I never actually do it. It sounds great in theory. I'll let you know one day if I actually try it with any of my models.
So, Andy, we had. Is it the second week of New Model Monday?
I think they always put something out on a Monday ready for this show.
Was that this model? Last week it was the Rat Prince, wasn't it?
Yes. I'm pretty sure this guy did drop yesterday.
Uh-huh. Wow, that's a big reveal then, I guess. Right?
So, let's just plough through what else is on offer on the GW Warhammer community at the moment. So, Rumour Engine, it's a bit of a claw on the end of a thing.
Tail claw.
But for what?
What the hell is that? What the hell is that?
Don't call it that, they've ripped us off enough.
Is it something good? Or is it something...
Spiky tail or a end of a cat? Hell is that? Rumour Engine.
We need a song for the Rumour Engine, but it has to be really disparaging. I'll give Remington until next week to cook that one up, and then we'll play it during the Rumour Engine segment. So, it's probably a tail with a bit of a claw on it. We'll see what it is. Next, they've got something else on here. It's a look at the design process behind this tree man. So
I like him.
Yes, it's an interesting read for people that are into the creation of the miniature process.
I've not seen him before either. He's cool.
A lot of character,
like his twist. Oh. Yeah. He's not just sort of stood there like I'm a tree man.
Yes, there's a lot of movement going on in that.
It looks more like it's been made from sort of plasticine, doesn't it? Like,
Oh.
Remember that art show in the UK called Tony Hart?
No.
Yeah, do you remember that? What was the little plasticine man called?
Morph. It's a little bit more detailed than Morph, I think.
It is, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, the paint job makes it look quite smooth, but I'm sure there are lots of ridges in there you could work with.
Your face. You like that? I've never seen it before.
Yeah, I believe it's a new one.
You like it? Do you like it? Do you want me to get you it?
Yeah.
Is that how it works now?
That'd be lovely. Or could put those tufts that Bad Squiddo stocks all over it.
Yes, Bad
Ooh.
Squiddo Games. Your home for all your tuft needs. Okay,
Critters on
next.
it.
Now, this is a segment in which I'm going to read a couple of these bits of Warhammer Age of Sigmar Broken Realms, because they've given us a few snippets. So, let's have a little taste of a few paragraphs here, shall we? Settlers gain, at last, the jewel of Zintil, how brightly it gleams. So worth the journey, though I will miss Jarosper keenly, of course. I only wish he could have seen this place before he died. Still, I have to remember, he would have wanted us to enjoy the glory of life here, to make his sacrifice worthwhile. No idea what they're talking about, but it sounds cool, and let's scroll down to find another one. It's a game we play, he and I, trying to get the most entertaining subtext across without cracking a smile. One of the elven tutors raises an impeccable eyebrow at something we say. We just play dumb, and they move on. Dismissive, as they always are whenever we disappoint them. Maybe they know exactly what we're up to, but they're all too prissy to call us on it, in case it inflames things further. Sounds like we're getting a bit of personality in this. And let's have another one down here. He flew high in his time, that bald old coot. He may fly again. Hear him say that. I have to say, my love, it was the most dispiriting thing. Maybe the naysayers are right. There's something deeply wrong with this place if they constantly insist on you raising yourself up, only to dash you down if you rise too high, to force you to open your eyes, then blind you if you see too much. Can't they see how broken that is? Okay, one more. In time, all the nations of Sigmar will come to realize this as the cities of light take shape across the realms. In time, the squalid old cities of men, built through haste on poor foundations, will crumble and fade away. It cannot come soon enough. All that will be left is the Andean Rem show. Okay, a little taster, and I've essentially boosted their sales around about, I would estimate, 400% for the Warhammer Age of Sigmar Broken Realms.
So what's that on about then? What's that saying? Is it some people saying they've, I don't know, what do you think? Is it like they're in the elven realm and they're saying that, I mean, are we looking at conspiracy? That's what I'm getting at. Are we finally getting some intrigue and conspiracy in the Age of Sigmar realms?
That would be nice. Does that mean you're going to keep your eyes peeled for intrigue, Mr. Remington, and then report back?
It does, my friend, it does.
Well, we'll have to have a new segment every week called Remington's Intrigue, with a little jingle. Next.
I mean, no one likes black or white anymore, do we? It's all about shades of grey. You know, narratives and things. Like,
yeah,
I mean, your model range, Annie, that you have, are things like good and bad, or is it all, it's not as simple as that anymore, is it?
Depends. I quite like writing their little stories, so I usually try to make it a little bit interesting, but I don't particularly have any lore, so. Plus, a lot of the stuff's historical, so.
Yeah, the historical stuff, it's difficult often, when it comes to just the soldiers down on the ground, it's difficult to say, well, they're good and they're evil, in general.
The fantasy stuff, though, I don't, I think I quite like making the evil ones misunderstood, but generally it's a bit more classic, I guess, because you'll have things like the Draculas and the vampires and things, and then the vampire slayers. But some of the recent releases, recent releases from Bad Squiddo Games, we've done 2 packs of witches, and they're both. I started writing their blurb up that they were sort of your stereotypical witches. We've got one pack with a very green skinned and going. And
this is very, very interesting. You mentioned witches because not too long ago you were guest starring in our very own fantasy roleplay adventure, narrated by Remington Steele, called Witch Coven.
And then I released some Witch Coven figures.
Incredible. Incredible.
But yeah, the info for them is basically that they're the sort of people that you're afraid of, but basically they just looked a bit non-conventional for the place that they moved to. So when people turned up at their door, they'd kind of ham it up a bit, the old like.
So
They're antisocial, so people just leave them alone, and then they just carry on doing normal stuff.
Do they have brooms? Do they have black cats? Is it those sort of witches?
Yeah, I did two packs of those sort of like pointy hats. Sort of,
Love it.
One set pack's going, so I like doing that, and the other pack are some nice friendly witches that just mostly like herbologists. Live together, being pals.
Speaking of witches, I think they wouldn't go amiss in the Cursed City, which Andy has got up next.
Yes, they're showing us some of the dungeon tiles here for the Cursed City.
Oh.
And let's find out if they're nice or whether they're just overly, like, copy and paste things all over it. Let's have a look.
Okay.
Let's cast a critical eye over the brickwork here. Now, to my eye, this just looks like regular old original artwork rather than too much copy-paste. Maybe the skulls, it's hard to say.
Really pretty.
But it doesn't look too... It was at the Silver Tower where we looked at the tiles and we thought, you know what, you can see like every single brick texture. It's really fine and detailed, but that brick repeats like 50 times on the same tile.
Copied texture.
Yeah, it looks like they've not gone that way with this particular piece.
Yeah. These just look hand painted.
Yeah.
And then split up. Yeah.
This
really
one.
Nice.
Yeah, the skulls all look different around the edge here.
It looks like a place where something happened. You know, each picture's got a little story to tell. Like the previous picture, maybe there was a romance there, Romeo and Juliet, and the lovers died and it's grown over with flowers. Right? And then
it doesn't seem like the most romantic location with all those skulls around the edge, but okay.
Well, it could have been at one time before the city became cursed.
Maybe. What about this one? I think someone was in there sitting at their desk when suddenly a cursed creature came in and caused some ruckus. Look at all this blood everywhere.
Coffin in there though, so I don't think they were just doing some normal business work.
Well, maybe there was like undercover creatures carrying a coffin in there on like official business and then dropped it on the floor and suddenly outsprung a vampire. Snuck
An
in
evil
there.
vampire?
Yes.
Or a friendly vampire.
And what about this one? So there's more blood here.
It's a decent carpet though. That's got some resale value for sure if it's done up.
A load of spears knocked onto the floor, shields. So maybe there was a bit of a scuffle as the troops came rushing in here to try and collect their equipment, but then they were cut down in this spot here.
True, it could have been someone that spilt some beetroot soup as well.
Look at all that blood splattered all over this pit of coffins. So the local coffin maker, presumably, once the vampires started coming into the city, he was the first to go. They need their coffins, high quality.
Like this, they're like nice painterly style rather than overdone. Because obviously graphics now a bit like minis in terms of just getting really, really worked to too much, I think. They just look like nice paintings, so I like it.
Yeah, it's definitely a step back from the previous releases in this domain. I approve. Does it have the Remington seal of artistic approval?
I do like it, my friend. I do.
By the way, in the chat a minute ago, let's see. Oh yeah, there we go. Joshua asking for suggestions for non-human undead miniatures. So, off the top of our heads, who's out there?
Bear's Head Miniatures by Phil Hines has got quite a few. Also, some non-typical undead animals. So I think he's got either a zombie or skeleton rhino, bears, undead shark. He's got loads of stuff. The game Bonefield by Macrocosm has a whole load of undead dwarves. What was it? Dwarves versus
I think it's
goblins.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't know if you ended up doing extra bits for that, but there's at least loads of dwarf and goblins, and that includes things like catapults and stuff like that.
The one I would throw out there would be, which you can only find on Facebook, is Majestic Feet Miniatures, which was the
feet or feet.
Feet, as in the feet on the end of your legs.
Oh, that's even better.
So that is the company, if you can call it that. Just one guy who got.
Did you Google Majestic Feet?
You might be able to, but it's so small you might not find it. So you should just type it in on Facebook to be on the safe side. But if you've ever seen my undead halfling army, that's where most of that range came from. So there's skeleton halflings. There's also a range of skeleton orcs as well. But you'll have to message the guy personally because he doesn't really have a web store. It's very much a one-man operation.
Andy, we were in touch with Majestic Feet for it's going on to 10 years now. We found him on YouTube. If you type in Halfling Army into YouTube, you'll see some of his miniatures, and he's got flipping thousands of halflings. When he gets an army, he doesn't mess about. And so we came across him like that, and he used to commission people to paint his miniatures because he just had so many. And I think he's got a family, so he wanted to get those done. But he'd have these huge battles with hundreds and hundreds of miniatures. So I think it got to the point where he wanted very specific ones to complete his army, hence him wanting an undead halfling army, maybe.
Yeah, so he just commissions sculptors to create whatever he wants to have in his collection. So as long as it funds just enough to make enough for him, then he's happy generally. But other people out there, including me, have armies of them as well. So you should look into that. Next, now I believe you may have just mentioned something relating to this Kickstarter project here. So these are some sci-fi space dwarves from Macrocosm, who were just mentioned. And I saw this pop up yesterday, I think. 18 days to go, it's already well over its funding goal. Some nice sci-fi space dwarves here. And
they look like a crack squad, don't they, these guys? Look like Dwarf SAS or something.
They've got very impressive variety in the beard department, I would say. So let's have a look at all the pictures. Nice little eye piece on that one. They're very old school looking, as the majority of the Macrocosm stuff tends to be. And look at that, it's a little dwarf in his walker.
Yeah, that looks like an Alessio. There's Barney. Oh, that's really cute. I like that.
That one can be added, let's see, 3 walkers and 5 head options for a £25 add-on. Doesn't sound too bad at all for 3 of them.
That's wicked.
And
can I ask you guys a question about Kickstarter?
Yeah.
Because sometimes I'll see really amazing projects in Kickstarter, but the campaign has ended already. And then, like, how do I get hold of miniatures that are, is it too late once the Kickstarter ends?
Depends on who's running it. So some will just be that Kickstarter, but for minis, pretty much all of them I've seen, they'll be on the shop afterwards. So if you just look on their shop, if it's been long enough, they'll have them for sale at retail. If not, just contact them. There's something newish on Kickstarter, which I noticed last week, where when you've finished, you can put a little button at the top. So there's the picture or video, and then next to it, you can add a button with a link for whatever. So I went back on all my old Kickstarters and just put buy it here with a direct link to that section on the website. So hopefully more people will see that. And because I only just noticed it because I was just pootling about in Kickstarter, but that wasn't there before.
Because you could easily miss out on a campaign, couldn't you? That would really interest you.
Yeah, because I occasionally get people that would email and say, "Hello, do you have any left from the Kickstarter?" And I'd say, "Yes, they're all in the shop now," because they're so used. Like I think some board games and things tend to be that sort of. They don't release it afterwards, or they go to other retailers. I think just contact the company, or go on their website, contact them.
Well,
there's usually a gap.
The reason why I ask is going to become quite pertinent when Andy shows you my newest painted models. But thanks for that. I mean, I guess as fans of the hobby, we kind of think people are quite, the creators are a bit unapproachable, right?
They are. We all are.
But you're not really.
No.
See?
Like Chris, who runs this, he's lovely.
But you know everyone, don't you?
I do know everyone.
Wow.
Please. Very nice indeed. So anyone looking for some sci-fi dwarves, a good place to look right now. Kickstarter generally offers good value compared to waiting for things to hit retail as well. It's good to get in on the ground floor on these things. Okay.
Why did 40k stop doing squats?
Because
Future
they
dwarf.
all got eaten.
Is that an actual story, or have you just?
I'm pretty sure that they all got eaten by the Tyranids in the fluff, but then a few of them have popped up recently. So hopefully they're testing the waters and we'll bring them back, because everyone loves squats. I'm not sure about their new approach with the like taller squats. I prefer the old school. Old school, really small, like these. Tiny little stumpy legs. Okay, next. Now, yesterday was International Women's Day. So an interesting time to drop Bellacor on the world. So we're going to look at some interesting women miniatures. Many of them will be Bad Squiddo, you notice.
Actually not, less than half.
Well, let's talk about some of these then. So what's the deal with this one?
This is a nuggie. It's a nuggie. It's hard to tell from one picture. I need to start doing 360s on my thing. It's an Amazon and a dwarf, and you know nuggie. I don't know how much it translates to different languages, but when you sort of get someone's head and go, "Mwah!" That's what's happening there.
In a kind of playful way.
Yeah. So I'm choosing that because that was part of a Kickstarter actually. Amazons and dwarves. I liked it because there's always the whole like pitching women against each other. So it was people like, was it Amazons versus dwarves? I was like, no, they're all friends, yay! So that's them all together and just being super happy. Like, nice women getting along thing. Don't have to be enemies as is pitched all the time. And it's just a lovely figure. I know it's one of mine, so I'm biased, but it's one of my favourite from my range. I really, really like it. It's just so fun.
I thought it was a scene from a Shakespeare play, you know, when they pour poison in the ear of the person sleeping. Is that Hamlet?
Oh, yeah. They're just having a laugh.
There's certainly no poisoning going on there that I can see. Next. Now this one looks oddly familiar.
Oh, that's not... Is that Annie?
Not anymore, because of my hair. It doesn't look anything like it anymore. It does. It's going back to red soon as well. So basically I change my hair colour every now and again, so people have to buy another Raging Annie to paint the hair the same colour.
That's awesome.
So that's called Raging Annie, sculpted by Kev White. It's very much a sci-fi me in my tutu, which has not gotten a faction for some time actually. Damn pandemic.
What have you got? Have you got a name for your sword?
No, I don't. I should though, shouldn't I?
Well, come the apocalypse, when you're heading around out and about on the streets dressed like this with a sword, you will have to come up with a name for it.
I will, yeah. I love that. I love that figure so much. Man. And it's got Baggy the Bag as a backpack, looking very sad. So
you've got a name for the backpack.
Well, no, because he's Baggy the Bag.
What's the sword in your that's sheathed? It looks like a wooden sword sheath.
No, it's a little pistol.
A little pistol going on in the boot there.
Yeah. So that would be a good mini to use in your Necromunda or sci-fi games.
Sure would.
Such as Stargrave, which is coming out soon, and Xenos Rampant. Still not sure how.
That's all very well, but where are these miniatures available? Oh, I see, in the corner there. It says Bad Squiddo Games. Maybe if you... Yeah, maybe if you went to the Bad Squiddo Games website, maybe you could pick up some of these.
What?
What a wild idea.
Oh, wild.
Annie, can you give us an update on the international postage situation? Does that answer the question? Was that an answer to my question, the laugh?
To pay a lovely large free figure sum to import some sculpts last week, which was no. But things are being posted. Apparently, there's a little bit of delay around Germany, but things are same pretty much. But people just getting used to it. So you can post anywhere, but it's taken a little bit longer, and there's taxes to be hit with either side. There's that to bear in mind, which a lot of people are still finding out, which is a bit painful.
Is that going to carry on for as long as you can see, or is that just
it
temporary?
changes in June, but I haven't looked that far yet because I didn't want to get myself extra confused. But some other scheme comes in, so I don't know if it'll be better or worse.
Now, what about this miniature here?
This is one of my favourites.
Yeah, tell us about this one.
This is Marique. I can't remember the full name of it. It's something like Champion of the Sea. I can't
Guardian
remember who
of the
sculpted
Sea.
it. Guardian of the Sea. Can't remember who sculpted it. I think it's Bobby Jackson, if not Patrick Keefe. Oh, I think it's Patrick Keefe actually. Maybe.
But it's apparently from Dark Sword Miniatures.
Yes, from Dark Sword. They do some of the best minis in the world. They're absolutely fantastic.
Where
and
are
they
they
do
from? Where's Dark Sword from?
America.
Wow.
They're the ones who have the Game of Thrones license as well, so they do all those Game of Thrones minis. They do a lot of adventurer figures that are just really stunning. And this is based on Marique, who is one of their painters. They quite often do sculpts of their painters and sculptors as well. So that's a sculpt of her, painted by her. So that's her paint job there.
That's just phenomenal. I mean, the clothes.
Oh yeah, it's so good.
Is that sculpted into the miniature, or is that been
No,
painted on?
that's a wild paint job, that pattern.
Oh my god.
But yeah, the figure is so lovely.
What are the hands grabbing her, pulling her down? Is it like an upside down fairy? What? Can you see what I mean?
Hands?
Yeah, she's got
hands.
Oh
no, they're little shells. They're little shells.
Oh yeah, I see what you're talking about there. Yeah, they look kind of like little gloves, don't they?
Oh, they're just little shells.
Yeah.
And she's holding an octopus there. And there's a very upset octopus trying to pull her down, probably because she's taken the child octopus away.
But she's the guardian of the sea, so maybe maybe they're an endangered species.
They're all just hanging out.
She's taking it off to get some critical medical attention.
I mean, it's just flipping amazing.
She's just delivered it. It's just been born. She's going,
yeah, there you go. Yeah,
like Lion King.
Assisting in the birthing of an octopus.
They are 32mm figures, so 32mm scale. So she is probably that big. So and then obviously there's the base and.
In a Warhammer game, she would look like a big character.
No, she'd be normal size.
Wow, it's even more phenomenal then because it.
Yeah, it's not one of those larger ones.
When you get to that level, do you have to have like a magnifying glass to paint that kind of detail?
Probably.
Some people probably do. Next. Now, this one is from Reaper, apparently. And this is another one that you like.
Yes, I like her. She's Hosilla from Reaper. She's the Bobby Jackson one. And I just really like it because it's a really understated mini, but just lovely. It was one that I used to stock, and I used to like it when people bought them because I go, yeah, and I sold another Hosilla. I just think it's really lovely. It's just a gal with a book and a big weapon. There's nothing too fancy going on. It's sculpted really nicely.
Does that
Ram, what do you think?
I think it looks like she's reading somebody's list of crimes before she executes them, maybe. I think it's amazing. It's got a little story there, hasn't it? The miniature tells its own story.
Holding out anything at full arm's length to read, you'd think it's like an official decree or something like that, wouldn't you? It's usually how it works, like with big scrolls that you would hold out. Maybe she's just got weird eyesight, though. Who are we to judge? Next. Now, what's this? Bad Squiddo Games again. That company sounds awfully familiar.
What? Hang on a minute. What are these?
This looks like a very British scene, doesn't it?
These are Wren's Dispatch Riders from World War II by Bad Squiddo Games. They're sculpted by Rob McFarlane, who does a lot of The Hobbit and various specialist games stuff for UW. And I've stolen him temporarily.
Wow,
which is
I mean,
awesome.
tell us about your concept for this, Anna. Did you get old photographs and showing stuff like that?
So these are some of the few digitally sculpted things I have in the range. So these are all digital. And yeah, we just piled through loads of different old photos. We actually had a meeting. Well, it was before the war, before the pandemic war, anyway. And I brought a load of books with me to show him because I send a load of stuff over anyway. But I brought the books so that I could pour over it in front of him, and be like, "Oh, so like this and like this woman's thing here." And yeah, they're definitely got a story. It's the whole like writing a letter, and she's got the map. She's like, "Where am I going to go?" She's got to deliver the letter, so you can use that for scenarios in your games. They are
High Command would issue a set of orders, right, and they'd give them to one of these dispatchers who would then ride to the front lines.
These are all based in Britain, so they'd just be driving between various different army bases or places like government to deliver messages, because you can't intercept them if they're written down, sort of thing. So it was quite dangerous because when you had German bombers and spies and things, they would always be targeting them. So either get the message off them or just destroy the message.
Mate, you don't often see women on motorbikes in the 1930s or 40s, do you?
I'm not sure, to be honest, because I've only looked as far as World War II, so I don't know outside of World War II. But yeah, there were a whole load of dispatch riders that were female, which
Amazing.
was very cool. There's some wicked photos actually where they just look really badass. Women on bikes is cool.
Would you like to have had that job if you were around at that time?
Yeah, that'd be a pretty cool job. I did pretty much research and miniatures of all the British World War II jobs and stuffs for women. I did decide that the lumberjill is what I would like to have been if I was around then, which is just doing forestry work. So you get to be out in the woods, you get to saw wood, chop down wood, get real hench before the end of the war. It could be of all the jobs for that'd be pretty up my alley. But dispatch rider would be pretty cool too.
They're like the first ever like Hell's Angels, aren't they?
I like the idea of that sort of bumping into an innocuous little old lady, but she's actually like a bit of a biker.
Now, this one here, not a bad Squiddo one, but Bombshell miniatures or Bombshell minis.
So Bombshell Minis is owned by Patrick Keefe, who is one of my favourite sculptors. He is one of the best female. He pretty much just sculpts women. He occasionally sculpts the odd man. You'll see him everywhere. Well, his sculpts are everywhere. He pops up a lot of Reaper, Darksword, who we've had, Victoria Minis, but yeah, all over the place. And Babes is his, so Bombshell is his company, and he does Bombshell Babes, and they're all brilliant. And I've chose this one just because I think she's particularly dynamic. I like the skirt going up. She's going.
What I'm getting from this is just aggression. It's definitely coming through here from that face expression.
Yes. Yeah, I like the way that skirt's up. She's looking pretty scary and badass, and there's not that many minis out there where you do think like, whoa.
Yeah, you wouldn't want to be standing in front of her swinging that thing around with that face expression. It's going to take more than an eye out, I think, if that lands.
Yes, definitely. And yeah, I think
she looks like she could be sort of a cleric.
Definitely cleric-y. I don't know if she's based on anything because he tends to do that quite a bit, but yeah.
Well, the way that dress is sculptured, it reminds me of a whirling dervish.
What's that?
A whirling oh my god, you'd love those. So it comes from Sufi Islam. It's like a mystical sect of Islam that's probably over 1,000 years old, but they would spin in a dance while they were praying or chanting and get themselves into a sort of a prayerful trance, if you like, as a way of connecting with the divine. They're called the whirling dervishes.
Look that up.
Yeah.
Maybe
go on YouTube and you could see them doing the dancing.
Doing the whirl. Nice.
It's one of those expressions that I've heard a lot, but I'd never actually heard the backstory of it until just now.
And you get so much more on this show, don't you?
Learn at least one fact every week, usually more than one.
Educational.
Next, now this GW, this one. So this one was Severina Rain, isn't it?
Yes.
And
I bumped into the sculptor not long after it had been released, and I was drunk. This is very good. Thank you for making this mini. Yes. And he kind of went, okay. So yeah, again, she's just cool. She's so badass. And again,
Annie,
like,
how does Annie just bump into this like rock star miniature painter and designer? It's like everywhere you go, you're bumping into these.
I live in Nottingham. So what happens?
yeah, when you're in the industry and you live in this region, and anywhere you go, pretty much, if you already know what the people look like, you're kind of constantly scanning. There's a War Games person there. There's another one.
It's kind of like being in Greenwich Village in the early 1960s, and all these poets, became folk singers like Joan Baez and Bob Dylan. They all kind of hung out in coffee shops.
Yeah.
Is it like that kind of vibe where
it's the Hollywood of the UK?
Wow.
You do genuine well when there's not a pandemic on, bump into all sorts of people, and it's just the thing of where you know X amount of people, you'll bump into someone and they'll have their mate with them, and then you'll get introduced. You're like, oh, that's another person. So yeah, it does happen a lot, which is cool because it's nice that it's just nice being around all these people, and that most of them are really nice. So I keep saying nice.
Now, I understand there's an interesting Annie-based story behind these particular classic GW vampires.
Yeah.
So would you like to lay that on us?
Yes, these are the Larman Vampires, which were the first female minis I ever owned. So they have a soft spot in my heart because when I look at them, I think about how badly I painted the ones that I had. I also tried converting the mounted one so that she had some sort of snake tail thing with green stuff, and I thought that was pretty neat at the time, but it was probably terrible. But yeah, they'll always be that sort of nostalgia for me because I started it all in the vampire counts type of stuff when I first got into the hobby.
So the Larman Vampires, were they a particular opulent sect of vampires? Were they like sort of very royal? Regal?
Yeah, they had different bloodlines back in the day. So you'd play. So within Vampire Counts, you choose your bloodline, and that had to sort of decide how your army would be. So that was one of them, and I got drawn immediately to them because they were women's. So that's the whole thing. I can't. What were the rest? They were blood vampires or something.
Strigoi.
The Strigoi were the ghoul ones, yeah, which I kind of liked as well.
And well, yeah, what were the kind of like Blood Knight looking ones called?
Yeah,
I can't remember the name.
William Matthews, tell us us in the comments.
But so Neferata, she's like the queen of these Larman vampires, no?
I'm actually really terrible with GW lore. I don't know most of it. I don't know why. I've never really got into it. Just gone, they look cool. I don't think she was she? Didn't she have a husband? Her husband was some vampire dude. They were a couple. Was this a dream?
I don't know. It could be.
Oh no, that I'm thinking of the von Carsteins. That's why.
Yeah, you're thinking of Isabella von Carstein.
Yeah, they're the couple. Yeah, I can't remember.
I never saw these miniatures being sold because I had a 20-year hobby hiatus. But when were these out? Were these 1990s?
So I got into it, and they were available. Blood Dragons.
Yeah.
At 1998 or something.
Yeah, it would have been late 90s. It was just before the edition, whichever edition it was that had dwarves and Empire in the box. I think was it dwarves and no, Empire and Orcs. Empire and Orcs were in the box, and the dwarves came out a bit later. But before that, at the end of the previous edition, there was the new Undead when they split off into the different bloodlines, and they had the Realm of Chaos box and all that fun stuff. That was a good time. They had the new Plastic Skeleton Warrior Regiment coming out around this time as well. When I say new, it's not in production anymore, but it was new and exciting at the time when they first came out with those regiments and put the movement trays in the box with them, which was like at the time. Those were wild, wild days. Vampires, very exciting.
Well, it was good to choose them as from the old International Women's Day thing, because I remember being excited and like, yay, you can play as women. There's like 2, but you can play as them. So the whole representation mattering type thing.
So back then, Annie, there was hardly any female miniatures then.
Yeah, in Warhammer there were those. There were the damsels from Bretonia.
Yeah.
And maybe the odd. That was kind of it.
There was the
Wood Elf
Queen.
Wood Elf. Yeah, Wood Elves had quite a few because the war dancers and they had the. Oh, I didn't put that in there. The Wood Elf Standard Bearer is really nice. The old one where she's got the metal or like joined in on her. Really like that model. But yeah, it was pretty much the odd one here and there.
You'd have like Helga the Dwarf and things like that every now and then popping up.
Witch elves, I suppose. Yeah, witch elves.
Elves.
Next.
Don't know why I need to pose all of them. It's how I see them in my head.
Now, this quite a memorable miniature from days gone by. Safe to say. Mr. Remington, do you recognise this one?
It looks like one of my ex-students on the course that I teach.
I can assure you it's not.
Because they're all really arty and, you know, I don't know. Who is this? Who is this supposed to be?
It's Mad Donna from Necromunda.
No, tell me more. I don't know this.
Mad Donna. I don't know much about the lore. I just know the figure and think it's really cool.
It's amazing.
One thing they should just keep as is and just re-release. They've kind of based. Have they redone her? I think they've done stuff similar, but yeah, I just think she's got that proper 80s sci-fi post-apocalyptic thing going on.
Which is what Necromunda is supposed to be.
Like the crazy hair, super weird gun, mismatched punky gear. This looks really cool. Chain sword, as you do in the 80s.
Next. Now, this doesn't look much of a miniature at all. There's not much detail going on here, but...
What?
Apparently, you want to weave us a little tale.
Maybe. Can you zoom in on her, or is that not?
Let's have a go.
Zoom.
There we go. Look at that zoomage.
This is just a little teaser for you. You can perhaps guess what it might be. It is by the Kev White, who's done Rage and Annie and lots of things. He's known for his sexy ladies, actually, but he's sort of sculpted for the last, who knows, 20 years or more, and he's just been one of those that's been around, sculpted for lots of people. Runs hassle-free miniatures. He's doing a couple of sculpts for me at the moment, and this is one of the work in progresses I got sent yesterday, and
amazing.
I haven't shown it around yet.
That is beautifully sculpted, isn't it? That is. Could this turn into sort of an Olympic dancer? You know, like having the tassels on the battens.
Could be. The battens are going to be hands, though.
Yeah, I was going to say I'm not sure about the quality of the hands. They look a bit kind of thin and coppery at the moment.
So that's the wire armature showing out there, which is an interesting bit to see as well.
Are the arms going to turn into crab claws?
No, human hands. Oh. She's entirely human. I'm going to keep it a mystery as to who she's going to be. She is a lady from history, and she's not going to be wearing many clothes.
What?
Oh.
What? Bad Squiddo's sold out? What? Wait till you see. She is going to be awesome. I'm very excited. He's progressing quite quickly with her as well.
Give us some more clues. Is it someone from the 19th century?
No.
Ooh.
Well,
20th century.
Ooh. Well, while Remington's wrestling with that, I'm going to reveal the winner of last week's What the Hell Is That? So, let's show you what it was first of all. There you go. It's this beautiful peacock with all its feathers, but some of the feathers look a bit out of place. So,
Lizard men?
What were they from? That is the question. And if you can see the feathers in question towards the top of your screen there, they are from the Gaunt Summoner. And who do you think guessed this correctly within about 10 minutes of the show ending last week?
Ian Matthews.
Yes, it was. Yet again.
You need to get him on. Get him on as an expert.
An expert on guessing miniatures from tiny pieces of them blended in with wildlife.
Oh yeah, you could do it. You could get him on like a game show where you have to see how many you can get in a minute or something. So you can just sort of like reel them off. And then if he gets X amount, he wins something.
I've had another guess at your miniature there, Annie.
Mm-hmm.
Lady Godiva.
She's not 20th century.
No. Is it fact or fiction?
I think you might have to wait for it to be revealed, rather than just guessing endlessly all night. We'll keep you in suspense, and we'll refer back to this.
I might tell you after the show, Rem. I might tell you.
The inside scoop.
Yes, super scoop. Super scoopy. Did you not put the really good female space marine in?
You mean that really terrible one that you sent me?
Yeah, that was a serious one. That's a legitimate GW female space marine. Seriously, I lie so much no one believes me. She really is.
Intriguing.
I love her. I've been trying to get hold of one, but I can never see it around. It's one of the like. They said, "Oh yeah, we don't do female space marines because they don't sell." And then you look at what they were trying to sell, and they were generally terrible. Yeah, I think it's the Rogue Trader one. She is terrible, but I like the quirkiness and just how terrible it is. So she's a space marine in high heels with a teeny tiny waist as well, and the hair's just like.
Is she wearing power armor?
Yeah, yeah. So it's power armor with like power heels.
So Andy, what are these amazing miniatures you got there? They look
well. Someone who may have sent me these pictures before the show, who wants to show off part of their halfling collection. So what's going on here?
Well, I have finally completed my regiment of halfling cooks, and to complete the regiment, I painted a female ogre chef at the back, making sure all the halflings are on point there with their herbs and spices and everything nices. A lot of different miniature companies are featured in this diorama of fanatical halfling chefs.
You got a Blood Bowl team in there?
I have. I've got a 2nd edition Blood Bowl team in there, converted into angry halfling chefs. I've also got members of the classic Hot Pot halfling crew, converted into doing various things, and at the front, leading the charge, so to speak, is a miniature, right, from Arkworld. It's a halfling chef from your friend that we're going to try and get him on the show.
Yay, get him on the show.
So I think he would like that. So get him to watch this.
We are going to mention Arkworld a bit later as well.
Yeah, so I'm really pleased with this because it's taken me a long, long time to do it. And yeah, so watch out for hungry halfling chefs
that aren't going to be on eBay.
These are
you
must
keep at least one army.
I'm not selling any more miniatures on eBay now. I'm done. I raised the capital I needed to do my investments, and now I don't need to sell any more miniatures, so I'm not. So there you go. I'm painting the ones I have to the best of my ability. There you go.
Now, what's going on here?
Well, I'm working on the next halfling regiment. These are from what's the miniature? Come to me a bit. These are Halfling Youngans. So these are sort of children halflings coming down. And you can see by the standard bearer, they've got a teddy bear at the top of that.
Paul.
Yeah.
Are they Battleforge by any chance?
They are the Battleforge, yes, absolutely. So talking of contacting the designers, I realised that the Battleforge didn't used to advertise selling halfling cavalry, right? And they weren't. And then a few years later, well, last year, I saw on their website you couldn't get them anymore. So I found the designer's name on Facebook and messaged him and said, "Oh, I'm a big fan." And I showed him some pictures of my Battleforge halflings painted. And I said, "Look, any chance you've got any cavalry?" And in the end, we struck up a friendship, and he's basically sent me a massive bag full of all these unreleased Battleforge miniatures, including these Halfling Youngans, loads of cavalry, the ogres that he'd done, including that female chef ogre, and a bunch and halfling sheep riders as well. So I got a heck of a lot of stuff. It was all metal, and I was really pleased. So goes to show, doesn't it? If you just reach out, you will find a helping hand.
It's really nice of him.
Yeah. So this is a work in progress. Obviously, I'm going to put another ogre as a sort of a unit filler. But yeah, what about these? And this relates to my question about Kickstarter, Annie, because recently on Kickstarter there was a Desert of the Dead Kickstarter, and in Desert of the Dead, it's some kind of game, but they had a whole bunch of miniatures released, and they had a halfling army, a halfling Arab army, and being half Middle Eastern myself, couldn't help but be attracted to this, and so again, the Kickstarter was closed, but they had halfling camel riders, this halfling rocket crew, halfling swordsman, halfling genies, a halfling riding a caliph riding on a magic carpet. It was like, wow, I
Sounds
love these.
awesome.
I know, but I couldn't. You can't
Send
get
him
them.
a message. Just send him a message.
I'll try. I'll try. But then TT Combat seems to have been selling some of them, or maybe TT Combat was the ones doing the Kickstarter. I don't know anyone from there, but anyway, on eBay, I managed to pick up these guys. So I wanted to show them off to you all. There's new editions.
Cool. Message me the name of it, and I'll look up and see who it is.
Oh, you can open your black book, aren't you? That's so sweet of you. That's fantastic.
Call my
yeah.
guys. Call their guys.
Now,
Brilliant.
Oh, they're by TT Combat, Steve says here. Well, that would be really easy. They'll just release them on their shop. But you can, just email them.
They're not on the shop. I looked.
Yeah, but if it's a very vaguely recent Kickstarter, they might be sort of slowly putting them into the shops. They just might not be ready yet.
So as someone who has their own shop, Annie, do you have like cupboards full of miniatures that haven't yet been advertised yet?
Nope.
Oh, they could just be concept.
Well, no, because I'm small. So if I had like bags and bags of unreleased minis, that wouldn't be very good business choice because it'd just be cash sat there. If I had it, sell it. So I struggle with release dates because I'll try and stagger releases, but then I've got them there, so like sell them.
If you were swimming in cash, then you could just strategically pick out the best dates in the year for which miniatures, like I'm sure many of the large companies are doing as we speak.
This is true. Although I am launching a Kickstarter on a very good day, so.
Wow, I'm sure we'll hear about that when it happens.
31st of March, which is a Wednesday.
Nice. Well,
now,
make sure you let us all know properly, and you give us the deadline. So, unlike me, other people won't miss out. Because look, I mean, Steve Evans is saying in the chat, thanks, Steve. These halflings are from TT Combat. They're there from the last Kickstarter, which only just finished. But I want them now.
You can't have them now.
That's not how Kickstarter works.
Kickstarter rewards the people who were there for the Kickstarter, and then you'll have to wait your time. But if you message them, they might let you in as a late backer or something.
Or as a celebrity backer.
But on the downside, does it mean I have to wait 3 years before I get the miniatures?
Not for TT Combat, it won't be.
They usually.
But quick. Email them because you can join a lot of Kickstarters as a late backer, which basically you just get access to their pledge manager thing, which gives you the discounts. So it's definitely worth a go.
Now, speaking of Remington spending money, normally during the show we look at the GW stock price, which Remington may touch on, but we've got some other Remington financial discussion to be had in a second, which leads us to this. Remington's Millions. Remington's Millions. So, last week after the show, I was contacted by a viewer who generously made a donation to this channel, and they will remain anonymous unless they wish to reveal themselves. And a portion of those finances have been distributed for Mr. Remington and I to purchase a fun project that will make some nice juicy content for the channel. So what I have done with my portion is I have purchased one of these, an Arkworld classic, the Fire Dragon, which I have unassembled right here. So there's the body, and I'm going to be looking forward to painting this. The dragons in Arkworld are notable in that they don't have wings, so I think this is going to be a lot of fun. And once it arrived, I then had a quick look over the detail and the various textures on it and thought, how am I going to paint this? And the way I'm leaning at the moment is for it to be kind of fiery and lava, kind of glowing dragon, which I think is going to be possible because if I kind of paint in like a light colour between the scales so it's shining through, I think I can do something pretty fun with that. That's what I've chosen, and Mr. Remington was going to pick up the Slaanesh Glutos, or Glutos, however you want to pronounce it, on his carriage, but he's had a couple of other things catch his eye as well, and he's going to ask the audience to decide what he's going to spend the money on. So do you want to pitch each of the choices for the audience?
Yeah, I mean, look, after today's show, having watched today's show so far, my head is even more of a spin because the thing is, I'd love to get Glutos, but it means starting a new army.
Does it though?
I have about 8. Well, it could just be a model, but I don't know. I like to get stuff. I like to, round it off or be able to use it as part of something else. So I don't really have a Chaos army anymore, but I've got some Slaaneshi Seekers, and I've got Wulfric the Wanderer. That's all I've got of Chaos now. So I mean, I don't know. They look amazing. So yeah, there's Glutos. I could get that, or I could finish off my Daughters of Cain army by buying Morathi, and that would then be the centerpiece. So that sort of makes sense. Or do I start collecting box for Gloomspite It's, and that would then round off a massive goblin army there, because I don't have the miniatures that are in that particular box. So there's that. Or do I buy just loads of bad Squiddo game stuff? Could do that. Could do that anyway. I probably should do that anyway, really.
Should Rem. I've got loads of foodstuffs to go with your halflings. I've got loads of a mushroom forest to go with those goblins.
Ooh. Well, there you go. So, thank you, Annie. Well, or do I get some Bliss Barb archers, because I do like painting female miniatures, and they are the latest female miniatures to come out of Games Workshop, of course. Hedonites of Slaanesh. They look pretty amazing. So I don't know. I'm sport for choice, but I just wanted to extend my gratitude to that patron of the show for supporting us like that. That's really sweet.
Cool.
Super cool, man. So yeah, I'm usually last on the chain. You see, it goes to Andy, and usually stays with Andy. But every now and again, Andy opens up his heart, and out of the generosity, he passes it down in the food chain to Remington.
Trickles down to Remington eventually.
I think that you should get Morathi, because then you've both got one big thing.
That would be cool.
And you've got Daughters of Cain, and she's a really good model.
Yeah, but you got the wings. It's like the back of the wings thing.
Yeah, but you could challenge yourself, test your might, test your painting metal against the wings of Morathi.
You can actually get Morathi. Well, it makes sense, doesn't it? Who doesn't like a massive centerpiece model in their army?
Well, let's hear what the people think, though. What do you think Remington should be purchasing? What do you want to see him work on, basically? Morathi, Glutos, some Gloomspite Gits, maybe just untold numbers of bad Squiddo miniatures. What do you want to see?
Dead Gamer says Gits, but I do. Like
that could have just been an insult directed towards us, actually.
You can see the Gits I've got in a battle with Andy, which is on YouTube somewhere, where my Gloomspike Gibbs valiantly challenged his Stormcaster Turtles, but were vanquished almost single-handedly by his Star Drake.
Who would have seen that one coming? Now,
It was, yes. We've got Marathi, we've got Sigvald.
That'd be another interesting choice, actually. We were critiquing everyone else's Sigvalds last week, so I'm sure those professional painters will be sitting back thinking, let's see what you can do, Remington, rating us 65 out of 100 or 40 out of 100.
Yeah, fair play.
Well, get him.
Yeah, he's pretty amazing.
He's on with the bare buttocks, isn't he?
Yes.
Or is that something else? Yeah.
We've got 2 votes for Marathi, so keep them coming in. It looks like she's winning at the minute. But yeah, cool, man.
So
Go on.
Because I've got this dragon sitting here waiting to be worked on, that's inspired me to finish off the other gigantic beastie that I've had on this table for a year now. And I'm actually making good progress on it now. So, sneak preview, you can see exactly what state it's in right now, this magnificent beast. So, the dragon's head on it has had a lot of work done. You can see how close to being done that part of it is. And a lot more colour on it than last time. Even just the last 2 days, it's gained a vast amount of colour because I've been spending a lot of time on this. So this is going to be finished before I paint the dragon, probably. I'm going to assemble the dragon, though. That doesn't compete with the painting. But I'm very much looking forward to this being completed.
I nagged Andy into washing the resin, as apparently he never washes resin.
Yeah, I did wash the resin. Here's the rock that the fire dragon sits on. I've never washed resin, or maybe once I have, but very rarely, and it's never caused me any issues with anything I've painted. I've had resin from any company you could name in the industry, and never once have I had paint not adhere to the resin despite not washing it. But I decided to take the soapy plunge with this big massive centerpiece model.
Do you need to leave it do you need to leave it soaking in the soapy water for a while?
No, Andy did, but
yeah, I left it for 5 or 10 minutes and then gave it a scrub with a toothbrush.
And did you find that the paint stuck on the plastic?
Well, I haven't put any paint on it yet, but people do say that if you wash the resin, the paint does stick to it a lot better.
What about this, Annie, for $1 million idea? Okay. Pre-washed resin miniatures only from Bad Squirrel Games. And you get Andy, you get Andy to wash them for you.
With his toothbrush.
So you think I should become a professional resin scrubber?
Yeah, it'd be like a pot washer, wouldn't it? It'd be funny. Can we sponsor Andy to do it for a couple of days, and he could do it? What do you think? Do you think the public would go for that, Annie? Would they be more likely to buy them pre-washed?
You have to put the price up. Then it goes up with the whole. I've seen that before when people are like, well, about pre-cleaned up models, pre-glued together models, and then obviously people are like, oh, would you like someone to paint it for you? I'm like, yes, people do that as well. But no, I just think it's part of the hobby element. It's not exactly a huge deal.
It's an annoying one, though, isn't it? Come on, isn't it? Couldn't you just?
It is when you're like, oh yeah, let's do this resin model. Oh no, I'll go wash it first.
Yeah, it literally took 5 minutes.
For me, it's the drying. It takes ages to dry, but I just do it the day before I'm going to do something.
I mean, what if you just got a big cauldron and just shoved all those resin things, and you get it in one go? That didn't go down so well. Okay.
We've got some
doing extra things, isn't it?
Some comments flying in. Steve says, Andy, you taking Night Stalkers to Clash of Kings? Well, if I can make the Clash of Kings tournament whenever it happens, the next one, see what state the world's in, whether everything's burnt down and it has to be pushed back by another 5 years. But it's questionable whether I would have a full Night Stalkers army by then. I've only got 2 models finished so far, and this would be number 3. So we'll see about that.
Now, in the chat, we've got a lot of people from very prestigious games companies. So we are in a very creative environment here, and they're all saying, please do wash the resin before you do it. So I guess stuff can just flake off. No, what's the dangers of not washing the resin?
So when you make a resin model, you put something in whatever it is that you use, but it's generally referred to as a mold release. So that means that when you can remove it, because you have these big silicon pieces with resin, and then you've got to pull them apart and get them out without damaging the silicon. So it's a bit like just lubing them up a little bit beforehand. So there's always going to be a bit of that on there, which obviously is going to be a greasy type thing. And most of the time you don't notice it, so it's not like you're going to get a model and it's all drippy and slippy. But there'll be such a small amount on there that even if it's just on a tiny bit of it, when you then put the paint on top, it might seem okay, but then if you knock it a bit later or something, it's almost like, it's just a bit like if you paint an unprimed metal model or something, where it might go on okay, but it peels off easy. Yeah, the whole thing can flake, it has been known. So it's just something I do just in case. I've done it before on somewhere I've been lazy and not done it properly and not gone into crevices or something. And then the paint just doesn't even go on it sometimes. It's just like,
Mm-hmm. I have to put a couple of
coats
paint
on. It's like,
those halflings that you saw, the Arabic halflings, I didn't want to wash them. I just wanted to paint them, and I had to do a couple of greasy base coats. It does get a bit greasy, doesn't it?
yeah.
When you're painting on it. But so far so good anyway. But who knows? They might flake off at some point.
Just use a bit of washing up liquid, a thick paintbrush or a toothbrush or something, and mostly sort of getting in the crevices is the important bit, because that's where it could have pooled.
Right.
More facts from Annie.
Yes, and a sizzling red hot tip here. If you're going to be heading over to Bad Squiddo Games to purchase any of the miniatures that we've seen, or some others maybe, then don't forget to use the Andy2D6 code to get your free resin chicken, which you can then scrub clean if you wish. There you go. Be a nice practice piece for your scrubbing abilities, that little chicken.
True, that is true. The chicken orders have been flying in, so very successful campaign there, Andy. Thank you.
Flying more successfully than chickens generally do.
Yes. Also, there's, I believe, a free shipping going on my website, which was supposed to end at midnight, but I think I've let it run till this midnight. So if you get in quick, if you put IWD 2021 as a code in the checkout, you get free shipping. But only, I believe, till midnight tonight. And I've not announced it anywhere. I told everyone else it ended on midnight, so no one's been trying. But yeah, you can actually still use that code.
That's amazing. IWD.
Yep, 2021.
Wow.
Because it was an International Women's Day. Let me just put that in the comments there. You do have to order over 20 quid though.
Which is easy enough to do when you see all the delights on offer there.
Yes, we have a lot of new releases as well. So there'll be Mushroom Forest's out, so woo!
Okay, and with that, I think it's about time to wrap up the show for this week. It's been a spicy look at some equally spicy things. So, before we go, we'll have a quick look again at the episode thumbnail, because the amount of time I spent photoshopping these things deserves another look. Annie's head, of course, there on Bellacor,
yep.
Because with this new Photoshop thumbnail style that I've been mastering, with these shocked expressions to draw in the eyeballs of viewers, there's no space for an Annie anywhere else on there.
Okay. Has to be on Bellacor.
It was either that or you'd be like plastered half into Remington's cheek.
It is good. Whenever Annie appears on the show, we definitely get a bump up in viewing figures.
They'll bring the party.
There's at least 6 more people watching than usual.
And I think people are sticking around till the end because they know that What the Hell Is That is coming very soon as well.
That's true.
Which
Before
closes the show now.
Can I add in one anecdote before it ends?
You can give us an anecdote before the end, yes?
I was hiding from a man at the door earlier because he had a clipboard, and the light was off in the living room, so I was kind of like, had a little peek, went nah, and then Andy came downstairs to sort of go, is that there's a man, are you opening the door to the man? I was like, no, we're hiding, and he had that orange hat on. I was clearly seeing this like orange orb moving about. Totally blew my cover. Still didn't answer the door, but Andy's stealth rating is very low, is the moral of that story.
You would think that, but he didn't come back. So it must be fine. Now, before
Andy, before you end, we must discuss our plans for the lockdown ending, because it's very soon now. Surely there's got to be some kind of celebration, some kind of get together.
Well, if it actually ends, and for example, Warhammer World opens up and they have restrictions for allowing people to play games in there who aren't from the same household, which is questionable, then we'll see. I'm sure eventually that'll happen, and when it does, I'm sure we'll be down there for RemCon, not Andy Palooza, because that would be far too many people and it would be illegal. However, as we know, RemCon is only maybe like the 3 Remington fans out there, so I'm sure that would be fine. So we'll be able to host that.
That's exciting.
So I'm going to give a personal thanks now to various patrons, including the mystery PayPal donator, who will remain anonymous unless they wished not to be anonymous anymore. So thanks to them. Also thanks to the following patrons who've pledged to the level that gets you a personalised thank you at the end of each episode. So thank you to Cedar, Ian, Rushi, Tim, John, Eric, Barbara and Guy. All of you, extra spicy thanks to you. Extra juicy. And it's now time for What the Hell Is That? So don't forget to stare at this intently when it pops up on your screen, and then after the show, in the comments, leave your guesses. It'll run all the way until next week, at which point I will reveal the winner, if there is one, because the one from a couple of weeks ago doesn't even have a winner yet. So that one's still open if you want to go back in the episodes and take a peek there.
Quick.
Yeah, William has given up on that one. He said he couldn't get it. It's the one from, I think it's 2 episodes ago, and it's something that's been placed onto a caterpillar. No one's got it yet. So, this time, for that though, don't forget to check out all the links in the description. Don't forget to like the video, obviously. Don't forget to comment and subscribe and all that good stuff. Apparently there's something you can do with the bell now that enables your notifications for YouTube, which is something that I should tell people to do at the start of the show and not the end.
Ring the bell, ring the bell.
Do all that stuff. And
absolutely, and thank you, Annie, for coming on our show again. I've got a suspicion you like this show, and that's why you do.
I do. I'm very choosy about where I appear, so I do. I have lots of fun.
With that, all that remains to be said, other than keep your eye out for What the Hell Is That in the next few seconds, what remains to be said is good night out there. Whatever you.
What the hell is that? What the hell is that? Is it a chaos dwarf or a vampire bear? Oh, what the hell is that? What the hell is that? Oh, what the hell is that? What the hell is that? Only Andy and Remington, Andy and Remy, Andy and Remington know. What the hell is that? What the hell is that? Is it Sigma Speed or Neferata's hat? Oh, what the hell is that? Oh, what the hell is that? Is it a mangled squig or a sorcerer's rat? Only Andy and Remington, Andy and Remy, Andy and Remington know.
Here's a clue. It's the eyeball.